Hey everyone, welcome to my brand new show, Towards the Future. This is episode 2, where we discuss important topics that affect many of us and our current state of health and wellness and getting better. And we just talk about whatever we need to talk about and talk about the articles online and see what is going on and analyze what is going on and see all the craziness that's happening. So, this is episode 2, as I mentioned. This important episode today, we are talking about sickness and wellness, and if you're sick or if you're well, and healing from colds and flu and getting better. And for episode 1 last week, which was the premiere, we talked about veganism. If veganism is hateful, based on some comments from an article online, as well as genetic modification of animals that are approaching. So for those of you who do not know me, my name is Autumn Asphodel. I am a self-help coach and motivator. I help other people live their best life and overcome their obstacles. So this is my brand new show, so I welcome you to it as we dive into what is going on. So, as I said, today's episode is all about health, wellness, flu, vitamins, and getting better. And hello to everyone who is joining as well. So let's give a brief background here as to what exactly it is when we get sick or when we think we're getting sick, especially around this time of year. It's cold. It's cold outside, at least here in the United States. It's getting colder. When it gets colder, we tend to get more sick. And there's a very specific reason for that, which we will discuss momentarily. We tend to get more sick, we tend to feel more ill, and we end up being scared of catching something from someone else, especially if it's about the topic we're discussing today, which is the flu. Now the flu, I've never had the flu, so I can't really speak from personal experience from it. But I know there have been many people who have gotten the flu, and it's much worse than just a regular common cold that you would normally get, that most people have pretty much gotten at this point. I've had, plenty of normal colds my entire life, but I've never had the flu. But it's way worse than that. So, when we get the flu, we can be scared of a lot of things. And this feeling that we have of being scared often comes from the image that has been instilled within us from a lot of news media, news sources and everything, which is what we will be looking at in just a minute here. So they project an image into our mind of we have to get a flu vaccine, or else we will get the flu, we will catch it, and we will get sick, and we will die. It'll be awful, it'll be miserable. That's the idea that they essentially project into our minds. They don't exactly say it flat outright, like, you better do this, or you will do this, but it's the scare tactics that are used that promote this. So that is essentially what I wanted to talk about today, because this is a very important topic. Because this is something I'm very, very passionate about, how most of these mainstream news sources, they completely neglect the number one key to health, which is nutrition and vitamins and eating well. They completely neglect that. They completely dismiss that. They don't talk about it at all. And that is what I wanted to talk about today. Okay? So, I have several news articles here that we will be taking a look over, reviewing them, and just discussing what they are talking about and exposing some of these scare tactics that they use. Because for most people, they may read it and they will believe all these lies and these scare tactics that they use because they're not opening their eyes to see the larger picture of what's actually going on and the psychology behind writing these news articles, okay? So I have several news articles. They're all linked in the description below. And there's a wide array of stuff. So half of them, I think, are CBS News, and the other half are about from other sources. Okay, so feel free to look at them at any time and familiarize yourself, and we're just going to take a look over them and check it out, okay? So our first article here from CBS News comes from more than 6 million have been sick with the flu so far, as CDC says. So, you know, this is it's an important article to talk about because there are many people who obviously get the flu and get sick. You know, it is quite a rough illness, I must say. Okay? So we begin with between 6 and 7 million people get the flu so far during the 2018-2019 flu season. So right there, it's kind of instilling an image like, oh, that's a lot of people. Maybe I should do something about that to prevent. And they do give you an answer a little bit later on, which we will see. Between 69,000 and 84,000 people have been hospitalized for severe cases of flu. So that is, you know, a decent amount of people. But when you consider, you know, the billions of people, you know, in the world, that number is very, very tiny. Of course, they're just talking about the United States, but still, that is a rather small number compared to the total population. And it talks a little bit about, you know, why it can be so dangerous. Okay. Let's see, and then here is where they really ramp up the scare tactics. Talking about children under the age of 5, and especially those younger than 2, as well as people who are older than 65 and older, are more likely to develop complications. Now that is very true because obviously, very young children and older people do have more compromised immune systems as it is. So you're not really going to have a fully developed immune system when you're a little baby. And your immune system that had already been fully developed is going to be compromised by the time you're older. So, yes, that is a very true statement. But here is where we get into the good stuff. Protect yourself and your family from flu. How do we do that? What is the first thing when you think of the flu? What's the first thing that comes to mind as to a way to prevent it? Many of us will say a flu vaccine because that is what essentially has been distilled in our mind. In our mind, we have been lied to about this is the #1 way. It's all the news articles and news media always says that. This is the #1 way of preventing the flu. The best way to prevent the flu is to get a flu shot. The best way. Just think about that for a moment. The best way. When we consider that the flu vaccine, at most, I think the highest it's probably ever been is somewhere between 40 to 60% effective. And usually, for the most part, it is probably, I think last year, I think was like 10% effective. So it was pretty low. Okay? Many people say, well, 10% is still 10%. So, okay. But here's what I said. You know, they neglect every other important thing about health and nutrition. Getting a flu shot later can still be beneficial. So even if you missed it now, even if you don't have it yet, you can still get it and it'll be beneficial to you. It takes about 2 weeks after vaccination for antibodies to develop in the body that protect against the flu. So the earlier the shot is administered, the better. So what are some other steps that CDC recommends? Obviously, they should be recommending things that are healthy, right? They should be recommending a good diet, exercising, taking adequate vitamins, and unfortunately, no. They do not talk about any of that here. They just say avoid close contact with others. Move away from people who are coughing. Again, that's kind of some of the scare tactic too. It's like, oh, you're coughing. Oh. See, I mean, it's not about what you can put in your body. It's what you can avoid. It's like, avoid this, avoid that. But put one thing in your body, which is the vaccine. Okay? Wash your hands. Coughing and sneezing into a tissue and throw it away. Disinfect frequently. So it's all about killing germs. The whole thing is the war on germs, okay? Many people are very scared of germs. They're very scared of being infected. Someone is sick, oh, you put the mask on, you disinfect, you clean everything down. You don't need to worry about that, right? If you have a good immune system, or you know, if you get the flu vaccine, you won't need to worry about someone else who has the flu, right? You're protected. Well, still, that fear is still within us because obviously, you know, we fear being sick. Okay, that's article number 1 here. And I'm pretty sure this a girl here, Ashley, I'm pretty sure she wrote all these. So yeah, she's pretty good here. Okay, is it too late to get a flu shot? So yeah, if you missed it, is it too late? They said it wasn't too late, but yeah, let's take a look. The virus, and look, they always begin it with the same exact thing. As you can see, the virus has already claimed the lives of 13 children so far this season. Oh my gosh, that's so scary. The flu killed more than 80,000 Americans, including a record of 185 children. Oh my gosh. The best protection against the flu is the flu shot. There we go. There we go. So, can we all see this here? Can we all see the scare tactics that they use? So they begin with deaths. Oh my gosh, all these people are dying of the flu. This is awful. Oh my gosh, what can I do? First protection's the flu shot. There you go. Interesting. Let's scroll down here. Healthy adults can also provide what's called herd immunity for others by getting the flu shot. So yes, if you get the flu shot, you won't be spreading it. No. You will be protected so other people don't get it. No. They don't care, You could be very, very unhealthy and sick individual who doesn't eat well, who perhaps has a very compromised immune system as it is. You get the flu vaccine, you won't be contagious anymore. The more people who are vaccinated, the less likely the virus is to spread. Okay. Of course, it's still possible to get the flu even if you've gotten the flu shot, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't get vaccinated. Okay. So, yeah, even if you do get it, you can still get the flu. And many people put the blind trust in some vaccines, including the flu vaccine here, because they will blindly believe that, well, I'm vaccinated, so I'm not going to get this illness anymore. I'm not going to get it, and I can't get it. And the thing that's the most interesting thing about that is many people who are vaccinated. We're not just talking about flu here, just in general. I'm pretty sure everyone watching this, most people are. I am. Most of the people are. Okay. Let's say we were kids and we were vaccinated, and then we're around someone who's not vaccinated, and our parents is like, no, stay away from them. They will get you sick. That doesn't make any sense at all, because if you're vaccinated, you should be protected against that. So why are you fearing that? Why are you fearing the unvaccinated one? It should be the unvaccinated one who should be fearing. So that never really made any sense to me. That's very, very interesting. That really is. Okay. So far they've calculated that this year's vaccine is about 40% effective, which is on par for last year's vaccine. Now, here's the interesting thing about Ashley Welch here. I don't have the exact resource where she talks about at last season. She says right here, 40% effective, which is on par for last year. So she's saying right here, last year was about 40% effective as well. Now, on CBS's website, there is another article that she wrote last year, and it said flu vaccine may only be 10% effective this year. It's like, well, which one is it, Ashley? Which one is it? Okay? You cannot get the flu from the flu vaccine. You take away... Okay. Here's one of the greatest ones here. So many people say you can't get it because it's a killed virus. You can't get it. It's impossible. Despite the fact that there are a decent amount of people who may get sick after getting the flu vaccine. There are people who will get the flu, even a really, really bad case of the flu, after they get it. Go to your doctor. Oh, it wasn't the vaccine. You must have just had it prior, and you just had it now. They make no mention of about any sort of issues that it may cause, or any sort of side effects, because there are side effects of any medication. Okay, like just recently there was a few months ago I heard about a guy who got this, and he got I forget exactly, like Guillain-Barré syndrome or something. I don't know. He became paralyzed and he couldn't do anything, and it was specifically because of the vaccine. And he had no idea. His doctor never warned him. Nothing. Nothing of that. So there are certainly side effects of any sort of medication. So to say that you may not get ill from that, kind of a big statement there. And it's one of those things. If there are people who do get the flu after, as I said, after they take the flu vaccine, and who will very much believe that it was caused by the vaccine. Now, of course, I can't sit here and say yes, it was, no, it wasn't. I don't know the full details. I don't know the full situation about that. I don't know the full science behind that. But the thing is, to completely dismiss those people and say that it's not possible 100% is very dismissive of science. To say, this is the science, these are the facts, get over it. Because science is always changing. Science is always growing. So for maybe 99% of people, they may not have an issue. But for those 1% of people, maybe they will get a side effect from that. Maybe they will have some sort of reaction. Who knows? I want to thank E-Rock so much for the wonderful, wonderful donation. I'm truly, truly grateful. I believe your name will appear there. So yes, thank you. Thank you so very, very much. And here's the other interesting thing here. This woman says, you know, some people may get a reaction from it, and you take some anti-inflammatories and it goes away. So what's she promoting? She's promoting other drugs to get rid of side effects of another drug. So we take a drug, we have side effects, so we take another drug to get rid of those side effects. It's not a preventative. You see the problem here? Okay, just drug city here. Take your drugs, take your drugs. Okay, another article from CBS. This was the first one that I saw several months back. October 15th, 2018, this one came out. Very, very big scare tactic, because the very first word, unvaccinated child from Florida, becomes the first death of flu season. That's saying, oh my gosh, what horrible parents that they didn't get this child vaccinated and now they're dead. That could be the statement many people make, but the truth is, we don't know the full situation. You know, I don't know the full situation here. You don't know the full situation about the parents, why they may not have done that. And the other thing right here, flu death, you know, and then we see the vaccine right there. So it's like, how do you prevent flu death? Get the vaccine, yeah. It doesn't, again, it makes no mention of the deaths that the vaccine has caused specifically to other people as well. Because there have been adverse reactions to the point where people die from getting the vaccine. They don't report on that. They single out the people who have died if they're not vaccinated. You see that? So they would never write an article about someone who has died from getting the vaccine. Like, I believe there was, I don't remember what the guy's name was. I don't know if, I think he was like a senator or something. I forget. But he got a vaccine, and within like a few days, he died. It was, I believe it was briefly in the news. And most major news articles said it was a sudden death. That he died suddenly of septic shock, I believe is what it was. When it was deliberately, it was the cause of the vaccine, because of what that can cause in the body, and then it caused his condition, which made him die. A child in Florida has become the first person to die of the flu this season. The child had not been vaccinated. Oh, that is scary. That is the reason why they died, yeah. Because if they got it, they would not have gotten the flu, right? As we just read, it's still possible to get the flu. So the child could have gotten the flu vaccine and still gotten the flu and still died. Then where would this news article be? What this is a strong, clear message to parents about the importance of vaccination. This vaccine is safe. It is the most effective tool we have. Pediatric deaths last year, 80% were in kids who were unvaccinated. Ooh. Again, talking about the kids, really, really being upset, you know, trying to promote the scare tactic of children here. Children dying. If you want to protect your children from dying, get them vaccinated. It is safe. There's no side effects. It's the most effective tool that we have. Well, if it's the most effective tool, it's a pretty poor effective tool because at most it's 50% effective, somewhere between 40 to 60%. And it usually doesn't go even that high. Okay? So that is very interesting that it's always proclaimed as the most effective tool. Why is it always the most effective tool? Because if it's the most effective tool, yet it has such a low percentage of effectiveness, then it's really not an effective tool. It's the most profitable tool that there is, because if a doctor says, here, get your flu vaccine, it'll prevent the flu. Whereas if they say you need to start exercising, you need to start eating well, you need to start upping your vitamin D because your vitamin D gets low during the winter time, and you need to just stay healthy and just, be the best you can be. Which one has the money behind it? Which one doesn't? There's money behind selling a product that is patented versus something that's you got to do yourself. You got to put in the hard work and, heal yourself and take vitamin supplements. Okay. And it's the potentially life-saving. Yes, it's potentially life-saving. That's not saying that it is life-saving. It's potentially life-saving. Okay, so here are some misconceptions that they say. Okay. More than half of parents think that their child can get the flu from the flu shot. It's very possible that you will get very sick from the flu shot afterwards. It's not perhaps very common, but it's still a possibility, so that is a valid concern. 30% of parents feel flu vaccines are a conspiracy. What is a conspiracy? I don't understand what it means by conspiracy. Conspiracy is a very open-ended term, because conspiracy can mean many, many things. Like, what is so conspiracy about it? And I think what they do is that they rope people in, they group people in here who just question the validity of the vaccine. Like, I don't know if it's really that effective. Well, conspiracy. You're anti-vaccine. You're conspiracy theory now. Conspiracy theorist now. 28% of parents believe flu vaccine can cause autism. Now, I've never heard that one specifically about the flu vaccine. I've not heard that about the flu vaccine. I have heard that if a mother gets the flu while they're pregnant, then that baby has a higher chance of getting autism. But I've not heard about it causing autism, the flu vaccine. I've heard about other vaccines being, people claiming that it causes autism, but I've never heard the flu vaccine specifically. And that's what we're discussing here. It's important that we deal with the science and the facts. Well, again, Missy, the science and the facts show that a lot of your points that you've made don't really add up, because it is possible to get some sort of illness, and it's possible that this is not the most effective tool. CDC recommends everyone aged 6 months and older get vaccinated against the flu every year. That's right. Every year you should be getting the flu shot. Every single year. Go to your doctor and get that, right? That's what we hear. How many people actually do that? How many people actually dedicate, okay, here's the time? I don't know. I have no idea. I don't know anyone, who is very routine like that. Like, oh, time to get it. Time to go. Okay? As I said, I've never had it. I've never had the flu. It's a no-brainer for parents. That's right. No-brainer, which means don't question it. Don't think about it. Just do it and get it done, right? Yes. And that's the most interesting thing. And that's what they want you to say. No-brainer. Because they don't want you questioning, and they don't want you asking, they don't want you researching. What they want you to do is to just ignore it. Ignore all the potential side effects. That's why your doctor never tells you. Think of it like this. I mean, if let's say you had to go on an antidepressant, okay, and how many people actually ask for the side effects of that, or does your psychologist tell you about the side effects? I don't know. But we always need to know about the side effects. Always. You should always. But they never tell the side effects for vaccines, mostly because, or they tell the ones that are, like, oh, you have some swelling, you have some, pain in your arm and everything. The That's not from the vaccine. That's because you got a needle going in there. You got a substance going into your arm. That I'm sure you would have the same side effect even if it was water. Okay. Okay. But yeah, that's all the side effects that you hear, because they know that if you hear the more damaging side effects of, that Guillain-Barré syndrome. Gosh, I don't remember. I don't know how to pronounce it. I do apologize. But if you heard the side effects of that, even if it was like a 0.1% chance, it would make you go like, I thought these were 100% safe and effective, no side effects at all. It's very untrue, very untrue. So to bring us out of the CBS News hole here that we're in for half the articles, CDC recommends everyone 6 months and older get vaccinated every year. So what is the problem getting vaccinated every year? Getting a flu shot every year more may not be better. Oh, what is this? This is a few years old, but interesting. Getting the flu shot repeatedly can gradually reduce the effectiveness of the vaccine under some circumstances. Oh, what is this? I thought this was our best tool to fight the flu, and now it's under question here. What is going on? Let's see what's going on. Worrying public health officials in the U.S., who have been urging everyone to get a flu shot every year, still believe an annual vaccination is better than skipping the vaccines altogether. Oh, yes. So, yeah. That's what they do. They urge you to get it every year. It's like, oh, you should always get vaccinated. It's always better than not getting vaccinated, right? Right. Okay. Children who have been vaccinated annually over a number of years were more likely to contract the flu. Interesting. So, when they get it annually, every year, kids are more likely to actually get the flu. Maybe that explains why some people end up getting the flu after they get the flu vaccine, because it makes them more susceptible. Maybe they don't get it from the flu vaccine. Maybe they're catching it because it's doing something to their immune system, making them more susceptible to it. The vaccine was scientifically more effective if they had not been vaccinated in the previous 5 years. 5 years, that is quite a bit. So if you get it 3 years ago and you get it again, it's not going to be as effective as they claim, and it's probably going to increase your chance of actually getting the flu. With many vaccines, an additional dose or two boosts the levels of antibodies in a person's body. Some vaccines actually require multiple doses to be effective. Here we go. So here's the most interesting thing about all this. More and more boosters are required to keep vaccines from losing their effectiveness. Okay, so they're meant to raise your antibodies and make your body fight off these viruses and these diseases. Okay, but we're finding that more and more now that more and more vaccines need to be given in order for the antibody levels to stay high, because artificial immunity via vaccination is nothing like the actual immunity you may get if you actually get the virus. So if you get measles, for example, which is a very it's a very minor illness that honestly there's really no need to really push so hard for the vaccination as we are doing, because it's really not a significant illness. But there are people who are getting it as an adult because they never got it as a child, and because the vaccines do indeed wear off. And that was something that is very, very interesting. Many of us believe that once we get vaccinated, we're protected for life, except for the flu vaccine. For the flu vaccine, that's just for that one season, just for that one season. But every other vaccine, we're protected for life, right? No, we're not. Because the thing is, they do wear off. And some of them last longer than others. Some of them only last a few months. But I can guarantee you this. Pretty much all the vaccines that I got as a child, I'm 28 now, okay? So we're talking about 20 plus years ago. Well, I was still getting vaccinated probably in my teens. I don't know what the schedule was like back then. There's many more vaccines now than there were back then. But all of the illnesses that I got vaccinated for when I was a child, I could be susceptible to now, because guess what? The immunity has worn off at this point because it was so long ago. So I could be getting these illnesses again, but I'm not. Communications challenge for communications challenge for public health officials who vigorously promote annual vaccination as the most effective way to promote against the flu. So how do they vigorously promote annual vaccination? Well, it was the previous 3 articles that we were just looking at. The death of children, the it's not too late. You know, those people are paid by these pharmaceutical companies to make those articles to promote it. It's like they're, you know, it's it's like, okay, I'm gonna pay you to write this article so you can promote our product. So we have to remember that is what this is. It's a the pharmaceutical industry is a for-profit business. It's not about looking out for your best health. It's about trying to sell you drugs, at the expense of your health. It may make you better, it may make you worse. They don't care as long as you buy the product. In every scenario, that's right, in every scenario, it is better for people to be vaccinated than not vaccinated. So even if you have an incredibly compromised immune system to the point where a vaccine could kill you, you should get vaccinated anyway. In every scenario, no matter what, even if you're perfectly 100% healthy and you eat well and you take vitamins, you should still get vaccinated. Right. This cannot be essay. So it talks about, okay, so here is the interesting thing. And let's see how many people here who are watching actually know about this. So they want to do random clinical trials to determine if, you know, getting a repeated flu vaccine is more or less effective. You know, annual flu vaccines diminish the effectiveness. It cannot be done in the United States, where the CDC and let's see, centers. Okay, the CDC has recommended since 2010 that everyone receives annual flu vaccines because they cannot do the experiments, because it is unethical for researchers here to randomly assign some people to forego vaccination in some years. And this, everyone, this applies to all vaccinations. Here in the United States, we do not do placebo-based control studies on vaccines where one person gets it and the other person doesn't. There are no trials that are done on placebo, a control placebo group. Okay? Do you see the major problem with that? Okay, so here is how it's done. For any other drug, they do a placebo group. So let's say you go into, you want to try out some sort of medication. There's a trial for some sort of, let's use antidepressant again. One group may get the antidepressant, maybe the other group will not get that drug at all. Maybe they will get a placebo, which is usually just like a sugar pill. It's an inert substance. It doesn't do anything to the body, okay? Okay, we consider that a placebo. But you can't do that with a vaccination because it's unethical to not give someone a vaccine. So what do they do then? What they do is for the flu vaccine, they usually test it against last year's flu vaccine. So they will be told that you're getting a placebo, maybe, or that you're getting last year's vaccine. So you're getting last year's versus this year's. That's all that they're testing. They're not testing it against placebo group. And then, as I said, this applies to all vaccines as well. What they do is that they test it against another vaccine, an older version of the vaccine, or some other combination that still is a vaccine in some way. So there's no placebo group. So how do we know that it's not causing some sort of issue or problem? We don't know. We have no idea. Let me show down here. The antibodies produced in year 1 may neutralize some of the vaccine in year 2 shot before it can trigger a full immune response. Interesting. When the vaccine viruses were quite different from one year to the next, the recipient would actually get enhanced protection. So it's saying, like, if they were about the same, I think I mentioned it up, if year 1 and year 2's vaccine, the virus was about the same, the second year would actually be detrimental. But if they were very different, if they were two completely different forms of flu that year, they would actually be enhanced. So the problem lies then with it being very similar year after year, and you keep getting it, and it's having that diminished health and that susceptibility to getting it. But if the phenomenon really exists, researchers have unearthed a problem without an immediate solution. So they don't have a clue how to fix this. They don't have a clue how to fix this. And again, they're not going to promote healthy eating and vitamins, no. But they are working on a universal flu vaccine, but it'll take only a few times in their life. So they could develop a universal flu vaccine. Maybe you'll get it every 10 years or so. Oh, they even said that, even once a decade. But a universal flu vaccine could be years away. Yes, so we don't know when it's going to be even here anyway. But would you opt in for that? Because you have to remember all the testing that would need to go into that. You know, you have to test for many, 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 many years. And of course, by the time that happens, they usually rush it to market before those control experiments are done. But high-dose vaccines might help ensure that vaccines don't become less effective over time. That's right. The more, the better, right? The extra vaccine in the shot might override the dampening effect of previous year's antibodies. So yeah. So this phenomenon that might be happening, that they don't know what's causing this, just throw a vaccine adjuvant in there, or throw more, an adjuvanted vaccine. Just throw more antibodies in there. Just to cover it up, yeah. So they're just covering up the problem. They're not facing the problem. They're just trying to cover it up by put more in there. Okay. The policy of vaccinating every year has been generally successful. We wouldn't want to change that unless we know for sure that we'll be changing it to something that's going to be better. And right now, I don't think we have any good idea what that could be. So they don't have a clue. They have not a single clue what could be better. They have not a single clue what could be better, which is what we're moving into next. So what actually is better than this? Because we're seeing that this is very low effectiveness as it is. It doesn't really do as much as it claims. The effectiveness is very, very low. Vitamin D. Vitamin D is the #1 most important thing. Vitamin D, your food, your health, exercising, living healthy. That is your key to health. You don't need medication to be healthy. But what your body needs is the building blocks of your body, and that's vitamins and nutrition. And as you just saw, not a single article mentioned that at all. How to prevent the flu. Get the flu vaccine. Wash your hands. Avoid people who are sick. Nothing about nutrition. Nothing. And that's what really upsets me, because I myself have experienced the wonderful benefits of, health and healing from dietary changes. Many people have. I mean, if you're going to fast food places every day, how can you expect to have a fully functioning immune system? Your immune system could be very compromised as a result. But if you're getting what your body needs, that is the #1 key, and they don't promote that at all. So why is the flu more common in the wintertime? Because it lives longer outside the human body when it is cold and dry. Yes, that is very, very true. When it's cold, it's dry. This virus in particular has a much easier time surviving, whereas if it's hot outside. And vitamin D levels tend to be lower in winter. For our vitamin D levels, how many of you watching right now, how many of you know your vitamin D levels? How many of you get checked for vitamin D regularly? I get checked for vitamin D every year because I go to an endocrinologist who monitors other levels like thyroid and other vitamin levels and cholesterol and all that sort of stuff. So I am pretty well checked, and I've had very low vitamin D before. My vitamin D levels were, I think, under 20, like maybe they were like 15 or so. They were very, very low. And I did have a lot of negative side effects as a result of that. And vitamin D, as we were discussing just a minute, it's not just about your bones. Vitamin D is a lot about your immune system. Okay. And yes, full CBCs are costly without insurance. Indeed, yes. If you don't have insurance, I think vitamin D tests like a cost a few $100s. Like I think it's like $200 to $300, or maybe even more. I don't know. Vitamin D seems to be a very expensive procedure, which really is a shame because it is such an important vitamin. Okay, so if you get your vitamin D levels checked and they're good enough, let's say they're in range. Oh, my vitamin D level is high enough. I don't need to increase it anymore. Well, the average vitamin D level in Americans, so all of you people who are watching or who are in the United States, our vitamin D levels may be 24. So 24, ooh, that's not very good. That's actually very low, and that's the average. So some people will have way lower, some people will have way higher. Ooh. But optimal vitamin D levels are between 40 to 60. But I tell you this right now, it's very hard to raise vitamin D levels with supplementation. I mean, you'll probably have much more success out in the sun, but when it gets cold out, you really can't go out in the sun. So you're going to have to supplement, and that's why I always recommend vitamin D and vitamin B12 are the two supplements that everyone should be taking. Okay, how could vitamin D stave off the flu? Vitamin D reduces the risk of influenza infection. December 2017, this season's vaccine may only be 10% effective. So here's the actual reporting of whatever her name was, Katie or whatever her name was in the previous article. She said it was on par for last year, yet she wrote an article saying it was only 10%. So here's the confirmation, 10% effective. Those who raise their vitamin D level to the recommended 40, I guess that's nano, I do not know the units, threshold or above were 15% less likely to get a cold and 41% less likely to get the flu. So it seems to have much greater benefit on the flu than it does like just a common cold, raising your vitamin D. Okay, I think that might be all for this article. Okay, and again, you can check out all these articles. They're all in the description. And for our final article this evening, okay, oops, I was at the bottom of that one. Okay. Why vitamin D is better than any vaccine and improves your immune system by 3 to 5 times. Okay, let's take a look. Vitamin D is more powerful than any vaccine you could take. Okay, vitamin D increases your immune function by a factor of 3 to 5 while drastically stimulating the production of protein antimicrobial peptides. So this works by increasing your ability to fight off infection on your own, what your body should do. Your body should function and fight off viruses on its own. You shouldn't need to put something else in it to enhance that ability. Because if you're healthy, you should be able to fight it off. Now, if you're unhealthy and you have a compromised immune system, then you might not be able to fight it off. So I think that's more who the vaccine is aimed towards, people who are unhealthy, which when we look at our diet here in the United States, our diets are very unhealthy. So that kind of makes sense why they promote that. Ultraviolet radiation exposure from the sun is a great way to increase that. So that's talking about sun exposure. It has been shown to reduce the incidence of viral respiratory infections. Let's see. There absolutely are diseases that are caused by vitamin D deficiency. They're saying that there's no vaccine deficiency, but there are a vitamin D deficiency, yes, because the building blocks of your life, of your body and your health, you can have real consequences if you're not getting enough of certain vitamins and minerals in your diet, in your body. And with our current state of health here in the United States and just overall globally, the lack of nutrients in our food, it can become very hard to actually get the nutrients our body needs, which a lot of times we may need supplementation to get enough. Okay. So one key part of the immune system, the ability of vitamin D to regulate antibacterial proteins, is so important that it has been conserved through almost 60 million years of evolution and is shared only by primates, including humans, but no known animal species. So we're one of the unique individuals that allows the production of vitamin D to be able to help our immune system and fight off bacteria. That's very, very interesting there. More than 50% of the children and adults in the United States are deficient. Yes. So a lot of us are deficient and we don't even know it. Because how many, as I said, how many of us here watching right now, how many of you actually get your levels tested regularly? How many of you actually see what your level is regularly to determine if you have vitamin D deficiency? Or do you just take a supplement just on a safeguard? And here's the ultimate thing. As we saw earlier on, it's the war on germs. Every little thing is scary because it's germs. Germs are everywhere. Germs and viruses. Oh gosh, we can't see them. They're going to kill us. Oh my gosh. Right now, MIT, I'm drinking. There's so many germs in here and they might kill me. Oh, that is just horrifying. But if you live each day with fear, what's that going to do? I just don't understand it. Germs are all around us. Germs are good. Germs are beneficial. Of course, some of them can make us very sick and kill us. But look at like probiotics. I mean, they are, those are fermented. There's tons of bacteria on them, but they're beneficial to our body. Okay. Our ancestors did quite well with good nutrition, sunlight, and fresh air as the sole means of supporting immunity. Yes, so our ancestors wouldn't have been able to survive, if they weren't able to fight off infection. But here's the thing. We're not our ancestors anymore. We live in a very, very different time. So you really can't compare ancestors to how we are now. Okay? You just can't do that. Because in our current state, we're inside a lot more now. We're not outside. We're not the hunters and gatherer type. We don't do that. That's just not us anymore. So we have to change our perspective of how we live. So even though we might not get enough sunlight, even though our nutrition may not be all that good, we can still try our best to be able to be healthy. Okay? And it's talking about a Japanese study here. School children taking vitamin D3 supplements were 58% less likely to catch influenza A, higher effectiveness than any flu vaccine can claim. And then it talks about the side effects of vitamin D, which are literally like everything. Everything, okay? Vitamin D can cause like everything. So if you're deficient, or you want some kind of helpful benefit there, it might be good. Let's keep scrolling down. Let's see what we got. I think we're almost at the end here. Adults, okay, so actually, I think that's actually coming up. Adults need to take 8,000 units of vitamin D per day in order to elevate their levels above 40. That is a lot of vitamin D a day. When I was diagnosed with a vitamin D deficiency, I was told, take 5,000 a day. 5,000 a day, I still couldn't get it up past 40. I mean, I think it was around 42, but then it started to go back down, and then I had to increase it a little more than 5,000 a day, which they believe is an absolute minimum for disease prevention. But as we will see right here, do you know your vitamin D serum levels? And here's the interesting thing about this, okay? Deficient is saying if you're deficient is under 50 units of vitamin D. Under 50, if we're calculating under 50, then almost all of us are under 50, okay? Because I think the standard is if you look on your lab work, or you look at what the standard is, what they recommend, doctors and everything, I think it's usually 30 and above. So if you're 30, then you're not deficient anymore. I mean, obviously you're on the low end, but you're not deficient if you're 30. 30 is quite a bit away from 50 because it is very hard to raise that level to up to about 40 or 50. So they're giving you a false idea of just how much vitamin D you need. So you do need adequate amount of vitamin D. And we see here for cancer and heart disease, 70 to 100. That is a lot of vitamin D. That is a lot of vitamin D. Vitamin D deficiency is in epidemic proportions in the United States. Indeed it is, because many of us are deficient. And it is really sad that many people don't really know about that because they feel fatigued, they feel tired, and they don't know why, and it could very well be vitamin D deficiency. They could have weak bones and their teeth it could be rotting and falling out because it could be vitamin D deficiency. Vitamin D is our best defense against disease. Your best defense against any disease is a robust immune system. I could not agree more with that. Your number one defense against any sort of problem, any sort of disease is indeed proper nutrition that increases your immune system and supplementation of vitamin D. Supporting your immune system should always be at the top of your list. Indeed, it should be. That should be the number one for all of us. We should try to be healthy. We should try to live healthy. And we should try to do our best. But unfortunately, we just don't. We don't eat the proper things. We don't do what our bodies need. That's the unfortunate, sad truth of it. Now, I do want to show you as well, right here, my vitamin D. This is actually a brand new company that I decided to try. This is not any kind of sponsorship, by the way. Just showing you the product. New Bloom D-Shine Vitamin D3 Vegan. So, yeah, if you're a vegan, vitamin D is actually not vegan because it actually comes from sheep's wool. But this is the vegan one, which comes from mushrooms. So this is 5,000 units per serving, and there's 120 servings in here. So this will last, if I take it every day, this would last 4 months for me. And this was cheap too. I think it was like $15. Okay, so 15. That's really all you need there. You don't need much. It doesn't need to be an expensive product. This is a very cost-efficient product. It really is. So I recommend checking that out, or just checking out some sort of other vitamin D if you want to check it out. I mean, you can get, if you don't want to go vegan with the vitamin D, you can get capsules that are 5,000 units, and it will last you a year, and it probably costs about the same price. Okay? You can get vitamin D pretty cheap, but I always recommend getting your levels tested and just checking out to see if you have a deficiency, and then just proceeding from there and seeing how it goes. So does anyone have any questions about this topic? Anything else you would like to discuss about this topic? I'm always excited to hear from you. I do want to thank you all for joining in here. This has been a very exciting topic for me, and the time just flew by, so I hope you all have enjoyed all this information. And again, all the resources are in the description below. They're up there for you to look at and take a look at, and just research yourself. I mean, this is not something that I'm making up. This is not some conspiracy here. The number one way, boost your immune system, and you don't need pharmaceutical drugs to keep you healthy. If you want to opt in for the pharmaceutical drugs, go right ahead. That is entirely your your right to do that, okay? But all I'm saying is that I believe in proper nutrition boosting my immune system. So that is what I do. And that's why I am happy and healthy, and I don't have any sort of, major health problem related to my immune system in that way. I have had immune issues before, but nothing that makes me sick all the time. And at this point, I'm pretty much over most of those issues. I've gotten everything under control at this point, so I'm pretty good in that regard. But if anyone else has any questions, just let me know. As I finished my green tea. Green tea is very beneficial as well, so that's something else that I recommend. All about the health, right? Okay. Yeah. Here we go. Pure green tea. No sweetness to it. All right. Well, I want to thank everyone for tuning in and joining me this evening. This was a wonderful presentation. Be sure to join in next week, Friday. I guess it'll be January. Gosh, what's the date? January 25th at 7 p.m. Eastern Time for another episode of Towards the Future, where we look at the future as we go towards the future and look at what is going on in the world and making sense of it all. Okay? So tune in then. And I do invite all of you at maybe 9:30 or 10 p.m. Eastern Time tonight. I will be gaming on my gaming Twitch channel, Asphodel Gaming. I'm surprised Nightbot hasn't seen anything, but let me put my Twitch thing there. So there we go. If you want to follow me on Twitch, I will be gaming in probably about an hour and a half to 2 hours on there, so you can come and check me out and, you know, just have a good old time. Okay, so you all take care, and I will see you on the gaming channel hopefully, and if not, I will catch you next week on Towards the Future. All right, bye bye.